How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'm Bobby6Killer and welcome back to Torment, Tides of Numenera. Now, I want to get back to the underbelly to finish this murder thing, but every time I go into a new area, it's a new area, for fuck's sake, so we have to explore. So we got a couple more places here to explore before we move on. I'm not sure where we're going after that. I think... yeah, to Circus Minor will be the next place that we're going to head. But we got these buildings to explore, so we'll go do that.
Alright.
And see what that holds for us. Alright, is this the underbelly? Oh dude, we made it to the underbelly. Fuck, I didn't know there was another entrance over here. Well, that's badass. Well, in that case, we can go see the Dendra O'Hare cult right now.
Let's go.
Because we got some business to deal with over here, with these fucking weird cannibal motherfuckers. Alright. Let's talk to their leader. That was you, wasn't it? Mbitu. Hey, asshole. Ah, welcome back. I see you're still on your feet. You notice he seems to be disappointed about this, despite his feverish cheer. I have more questions about the trouble going on in the underbelly. Oh dear, he says. I was hoping it was all over by now. Tell me about the children of the Endless Gate. The smile falls from Mbitu's face. I hope you're not asking for the reason I think you are, he says. They begin as a branch of the Dendra O'Hare that was more impatient in their appetites. His lip twitches, like the memory of a snarl. Years ago, my sisters and brothers and I chased them from the city and erased their names from every record, or thought we had. Perhaps, he says, turning troubled eyes on his acolytes. No, this is the first time I've spoken of the Endless Gate in years. They cannot possibly be involved. He takes a deep breath and smiles at you again. It's like watching a wrinkled sun emerging from the clouds. I have evidence the Dendra O'Hare are involved. Can I speak with your acolytes?
Making a note.
Oh my, he says, I suppose you have my permission. Do be gentle with them. He flashes his teeth at you. If they deserve it, of course. Yeah, okay. Do you think any of the other Dendra O'Hare could be capable of murder? Certainly not, he declares, then pauses. Well, they do come and go as they please, hunting for bodies left in the gutters like broken leaves. He smiles mistily up at the air, as though reminded of his younger years. The devourer of wrongs was standing vigil these last few days, but any of the others could be responsible, I suppose. He runs his eyes across them, humming a fretful little memory. Oh dear, he says, they really are a suspicious lot, aren't they? Mallet enjoys hurting people. Kiyatawa tells her little lies, and Gezi, well, she's quite unique. He seems as pleased at this as though he accomplished her uniqueness himself. All in all, they're a horrifying bunch, aren't they? I hadn't really noticed before. Jesus Christ. Where were you when Fulsom's protege was killed? Ah, he says excited. I have quite an amazing alibi. Is that how you say it? Alibi? He draws himself up and sets his jaw sternly, like a caricature of justice itself. I was with Fulsom the entire night. He can tell you as much.
Making a note.
He leans in close to whisper in your ear. I promised Fulsom I wouldn't tell anyone how he helps with things. You'll need to ask him if you want to know more. He winks and stands back. So as you can see, I'm beyond suspicion. Okay, let's go talk to his acolytes then. Mallet, he likes hurting people. That works. The burly man sneers at you, flexing massive, scarred hands that could easily encircle your throat. His tongue probes the stained, sharpened teeth, and a short, blood-stained club swings from a hook at his waist. So what are you doing down here, shield meat? He says. Playing in the dark? He chuckles long and low. Mallet, Tabia mutters through a frozen grin. This numb slab beat his partner to death over 2 shins. Mbitu gave me permission to ask you about the murders. Is that right, he says, glancing at Mbitu. The leader of the Dendra O'Hare gives him a small nod. Yeah, alright, he says. Ask your questions for all the good it'll do you. Did you know Weedle? Heh, he says. Yeah, I knew him. Glad to hear he's dead, he chuckles. He was smart and knew it. Always looking down on the rest of us. Always ordering people around with Fulsom looking on, smiling, he snorts. But if you're thinking I chopped him, I didn't. I was getting drunk in the corner of the manufactory. He grins nastily, wondering what all the screaming was about.
Making a note.
You know who you should ask, he says, leaning in? Kiyatawa. I saw her hunched over some corpse in an alley, all by herself. Doesn't matter what the meat is, people who eat on their own always got something to hide. He nods at the other cultist. And Gezi is one to watch too. She ain't like you or me. She's a mutant. And not one of the nicer ones. Okay. Have you ever heard of something called the Endless Gate? No, he says. Strange name though. If it don't end, it ain't much of a gate, is it? It's more of a hallway. Well, you got me there. Tell me what you think about the other members of your family. Family, he repeats. Heh, good one. I trust my brother over this bunch, and he tried to cut my throat when I was 5. He clucks his tongue. Go on and ask your questions. What are your opinions on Mbito? He's alright, Mallet says. Got half the city scared of him, and the other half bringing him meat. Not bad for an old man who smiles at everyone and never raises his voice. What do you think of Gezi? Gezi's a monster, he says, shaking his head. Less than human and more than a beast. I've seen her take corpses' face off with a swipe of those claws and tuck it in her mouth like pan bread. Didn't stop until the body was gone, down to the last drop of blood. He bites his upper lip, drawing ribbons of blood. Talk to Gezi if you want. Figure her out. Me? I keep my distance. How do you feel about Kiyatawa? He opens his mouth to respond, closing it, thinking. Something's wrong with her, he says finally. And I ain't stupid. I know how that sounds coming from me. Just, something's broken in her and it's getting worse. Alright. Talk to you later. Kiyatawa. This woman watches you, measuring every step, every twitch of your hands, and yet there is no fear in her. Iron lines her spine and presses her mouth into a thin, even line. You take a wrong turn, she says, studying the nails on her right hand. Don't see many people down here for the light or the company. She steals a cautious glance at the hulking cultist nearby, then returns her gaze to you. You want something? And Mbito says I can ask you about the murders in the underbelly. Yeah, she says, looking over at the old man. He nods. Good. Have to say I'm not surprised that the murderer's trail led you here. What do you want to know? Mallet says he caught you eating corpses on your own. Yeah, maybe Mallet should mind his business, she says, shooting an angry look at the hulking cultist. Sure, it's true. I don't like being down here more than I have to, alright? I barely even sleep anymore. Keep getting the feeling that they're waiting for me to die, wondering what I'd taste like.
I'll remember that.
Not too long ago I found a corpse in an alley near Circus Minor, and I didn't see why I should share it with this lot. She drags her fingers through her hair. That's it. No secret, no scandal. And since Mallet thinks he can share my hunting with strangers, maybe you should ask him how many corpses he's found in his own. Or if they were actually dead when he found them. Do you know anything about the Endless Gate? No, she says. Never heard of them. Do you have any idea who the murderer is?
Making a note.
No, she says, resting her hands on her hips. But I've seen what they left behind at Folsom's boy. A mess. Blood on the walls and floor. No body. She flicks a strand of hair out of her eyes. That's the kind of death you see when someone's sending a warning or holding a grudge. I saw it all the time before I came here. Why do you think someone killed Folsom's protege? Why? She says, with something approaching a grin. Why? This is Folsom. This is someone Folsom cared about. He has a lot of enemies. Why do you think? I want to know your opinions on the other Dendra O'Hare? Ha, she says, alright. Don't expect me to hold back. What are your opinions on Mbito? He's lived too long, she says. Maybe the Dendra O'Hare was something once. But he's just looking for his next meal now, and the rest of them are following his example. How do you feel about Mallet? He likes hurting people. More than that, he's proud of it. She runs an angry hand through her hair and lowers her voice. I'm not sure, but I think he's been killing rivals from his old life and eating them. What do you think of Gezi? She used to be worse than she is. If you haven't talked to her yet, you'll see what I mean. She glances at the mutant uneasily. Maybe all those corpses she's eating on her own are bringing Sagas to her head. Civilizing her, maybe. She shakes her head, but that just means she's a predator who knows the mind of her prey. You guys are all creepy motherfuckers. Jesus Christ. I don't want to be in here anymore. We welcome you back, Tenderling. She croons as if singing to a tasty child. Oh god. And BG says I can ask you about the murders in the underbelly. Her small eyes glow with humour, but flicker first to the leader of the Dendro Her. He nods. Ask your questions, tenderling, she says, stroking the back of her hand with her claws. Even this gentle motion draws blood. Do you know about a group called the Children of the Endless Gate? We know it, she says, frowning, but we're not sure how. She drums her claws against her chin, drawing pinpricks of blood. Yes, bloody circles left in the sides of junkyard dwellings outside the bloom, in shadows. Beware the Endless Gate, little woman, the people of the community say. It still makes us laugh. Such sweetness. What do you know about the murders? Oh, tenderling, she chuckles delighted. You used the wrong word over and over. There is no murder if there is no body. This was... She uses a word you don't recognize, a gruesome combination of clicking teeth and growling consonants. And so, nothing was lost.
Making a note.
We do not know who is responsible, she says, scratching her cheek. Blood spills unheeded from the wound. Kiatawa and Mallet sneak about during the night. They swallow their secrets. They are Dendro Her to serve their power and hunger, not to honor the dead, not for... She uses the word again, snapping her jagged teeth with great satisfaction. They are not capable of such kindness. What is that word you used to describe murder? That clicking, growling word. Word, she says, blinking. Oh yes, your language doesn't have the word, so we use our own. She clicks her teeth together thoughtfully, then answers, We know of murder, of course. To leave a body to rot is to say that the soul inside is not worth keeping. This, we punish. This decision is not for anyone to make. The word we speak is the opposite. On my world, when one of us dies or is killed, we eat their flesh and take their souls into our body. We feel the light of them reach our corners. She raises a claw, smiling. They become we. You understand? You only think murder is murder if the murderer doesn't eat the entire body. Yes, she says, clapping her hands together with delight. You understand? This murder is no murder. She pronounces the word with obvious scorn. We know the details. A skinned hand and blood, circles on the wall, she says, making a tisking noise. Tenderlings play with their food. Perhaps your murderer is young. They do not know how they should finish the hands, strip the memories of hard work from their tendons, crunch the bones, slurp the blood from the floor. She shakes her head fondly. Tenderlings. Okay. You don't think Kiatawa or Mallet killed any of the victims? We never said that, she said, playfully biting her tongue. They kill, but they do not honor. They do not understand who we are. Ah. Okay. I feel like we're not much closer to anything here. I talked to all of you, and we're not anywhere. Hang on, where is our murder one? Circles in red. I've questioned all the cultists of the Dendro Her Chapel. I should return to Folsom at any time to tell him who I think committed the murders. Ah, fuck. Who I think committed the murders? Well... I don't know. I really don't know. Should I know? I mean... The mutant lady seems like the obvious pick, but too obvious. You know? Mallet likes hurting people, so he's an easy pick as well. I don't really know. Let's just talk to Folsom and see what happens. The fat man's gaze shifts to Matt Keener and his expression hardens further. Matt Keener, you will tell me if you know anything about this murder, he says, gesturing at the bloody floor with the ringed hand. And if you're responsible, you'll reveal the name of your employer now. You know me better than that, she growls. Or should. Should I, he says. Very well, lend your expertise to the task at hand, Matt Keener. Find me the killer. I suggest you try your hardest. He smiles tightly and returns his gaze to you, waiting for you to speak. And B2 says he was with you when the first murder occurred. Is this true? Yes, Folsom says. He does not elaborate. I've discovered that the Children of the Endless Gate may be involved in Weedle's murder. Interesting. And B2 told me that the group had been crushed long ago. I would count it a favor if you continued your investigation. Speak with him, B2 and his acolytes, and tell me if you believe one of them is responsible. Ah, fuck. I don't know who the murderer is, though. I don't know. Do you have any insights? No. I know who the murderer is? Do you? He says, a gleam in his eyes. Tell me. My obvious pick would be Mallet. I mean, even if he's not the murderer, it would be good to get him off the streets, because he's obviously a psychopath. Fuck. If I get this wrong, will we get another shot at this, or will people just keep getting killed? I really don't know. I really don't know. Alright, farewell. We need more information. Alright, let's head back because we got more places to check up here before we carry on with that. But, you know, we got some more information. That's something. That's something. I wish there was a way we could find out definitively who it was. But unfortunately that seems impossible at the moment, so we gotta check this building out. I kinda wanna dump Tabir to get Rin into the party, because we need Rin. Because we got a mission about Rin, and we need to make room for her, I suppose, and Tabir seems like the least useful member of the party at the moment, to be honest. Who are all you? Lots of people. Dharma of the Bloom. The wispy moustache on this pudgy middle-aged man would be almost comical if it weren't for his deep and despairing eyes. They are the eyes of a man who has passed through the gates of alien hells and returned, though not necessarily whole. His fingers tightly wrapped around some fine glassware are strong and slim, a musician's fingers, or a strangler's. Before you open your mouth to speak, he says, "What is that place in your head?" It's a labyrinth. A labyrinth? He raises an eyebrow and leans back in his seat. That's a novel construction. He starts ticking items off his fingers. I've seen people construct psychic fortresses, cathedrals, graveyards, hellscapes, and vortices from which no life escapes. All dramatic places, all powerful and forbidding, but a labyrinth? Well, that's a whole different construction. That speaks to cunning and guile. Do you mind if I take a quick look? Seems like a strange thing to carry and not know anything about. His voice is polished and clean, friendly but intent. Go ahead. My thanks. Though it is not often the wisest choice to let strangers enter your mind. I'll not do you any harm. Might help even. He smiles to take the sting out of his words. You ready? He breathes in, and suddenly you feel you're a moat tucked inside a gigantic prism, with eyes peering at you from all around. You are held tightly in an enormous fist. You are a flimsy piece of glass held up to the light, yet somehow it is not utterly terrifying. His words come to you as if from a distance. A shared space? Such depths, such twists. It builds itself around your experiences, around those who share it with you. Shared spaces are occasionally dangerous, so I sharpened a part of your mind. His voice draws closer, and the pressure eases. I didn't probe deeply, but this would be an excellent battleground. If you lured a foe to you, you could trap it within your mind. You could destroy it. Oh, introductions, yes. Gained 1 intellect pool? Nice! Permanent boost to intellect. He sets a glass down and shakes your hand. I'm Dharma. Dharma of the Bloom. He pinches the bridge of his nose, his eyes tightly shut, and you feel a gentle and powerful presence surrounding your consciousness. I have a request for you. It might seem strange, but you have an interesting topography to your mind. You might be able to help us. The Fifth Eye is home to psychic veterans. We fought an incursion of nightmares, I suppose. Nightmares slithering in the city's shared dream space, eating minds and leaving husks behind. We call them the adversaries. We burned them out and cauterized the wounds, through which they infected our reality. But I can't shake the nagging feeling that one of them survived and waits to strike. I trust my intuition, and now it's telling me to ask for your help. I'd be happy to help. What do I need to do?
I'll remember that.
He breathes a sigh of relief. My thanks. I feel the adversary. I know it's here. I know it's close. It's watching us. But it's hiding its presence. And I fear it will strike when our guard is down. It may well be in the Fifth Eye even now. He shrugs helplessly. Sadly, our Fifth Eye is blind. He jerks a thumb at the bartender. It might be that our foe has blinded us. But it might not have shielded itself from you. Look for it, and tell me if you find something unusual. Okay. What can you tell me about the adversaries? A good question. Better if I show you. He closes his eyes and you feel an insistent nudge in your mind. Then your vision goes black, replaced with a nightmare. You see a void, oblivion, a place where black stars hang and shriek with formless rage. Violet lightning arcs through the sky, and you witness enormous masses of pustulant orbs raging against each other. Streams of conscious thought rocket from them, and they scream of need, desire, hatred. Other emotions arise with these wisps of mental energy that curl like steam. They brush your consciousness with a touch beslimed with the unknowable hungers of an alien mind. These luminous wisps quest through the invisible cracks in dimensional walls. New worlds, unsuspecting minds, brilliant lights enfolded in the adversary's decaying orbits, imprisoned stars winking out forever. They came through the bloom, shining and tenebrious at the same time, he whispers. They offered games, riches, promises for the future. I felt their passage and was afraid, and I hid myself from their questing touch. I felt them reach for me, and I cowered in my shell. She lays a hand on Dharma's shoulder. Those who didn't hide saw the lure, and they were drawn into that unwinnable mental game, attracted by the light of the adversary's mind. They followed their own dreams into madness. Psychics and normal people alike, the ruin of the city's mind was... She shakes her head. You were wise enough to see beyond the lure and into the danger. You couldn't stand against them yourself, so you hid. We all did. Not all, he growls. Some stood. They played the game and got cracked like glow globes. I felt them die, and their spirits got sucked into a vortex of endless fear. You did the right thing, Dharma, and I've told you that before. Fine, fine, he replies, waving the words away. But you've seen what the adversaries are like now, inhuman, with no negotiation. Maybe they're communicating with us, and we don't understand them, but I tell you, if this is their hello, I don't want anything else to do with them. So those of us who survived the initial incursion gathered here. We set aside our differences, and we fought back, but not without our own losses. Oh shit. Tell me about yourself. I told you they call me of the Bloom. I was born there, and I knew nothing of the world outside for the longest time. I thought it was normal to play in the passages made of gut and tissue, to hide from slavers and diverticula, to watch visitants stagger in from other worlds. I learned how to read people there, how to understand them, and one day I left the Bloom and came to Sager's Cliffs, and I discovered the world was a different place than I thought. A better place. That was when I learned to fight. That is why I learned to fight. He gestures at himself. This isn't a warrior's body, of course. Not in the usual sense. He smiles, and a great pressure swells in your head and vanishes before you can even register alarm. But I'm not usual. No one in the Fifth Eye is. We're psychics, psionics, seers. Call us mindbenders or thought rippers. But we're warriors. We keep the minds of Sager's Cliffs safe from threats they don't even imagine. The old man growls. They'd go crazy if they did. Not that they're exactly paragons of sanity at the best of times. What is this place? This is the Fifth Eye. You might think of it as a retirement home or a veterans hospital. But it wasn't always this way. Look around you. He gestures at the pipes and the disused machinery. There's a reason we're here. Ask your questions. Can you tell me about the nature of the Fifth Eye? What did you mean when you said it was a veterans hospital? He raps on the nearby wall. A solid sound, no vibration. We don't know what this place was, though the pipes and the machinery make it seem like a kind of pumping station. But what it is to us, and then his mind whispers in yours, sanctuary. A crawling sensation like insects under your scalp. This is what the outside world is. You see an image of the city beneath you writhing with ribbons of light that flare in a million colors. Each of those ribbons is a thought, word, deed, and each calls out for attention. His companions nod. He continues speaking. When we're here, we can dampen that noise. The voices become voluntary. We can still listen, but it's not insistent. Whatever this building is, it's shielded. Safe for our kind. Tell me about the history of the Fifth Eye. The psychically sensitive have been hiding here for generations. The endless battle, the cobalt breach, the rising blood. All the great psionic conflicts have victors and the defeated. But more importantly, they have the wounded, the veterans. The scars of 1,000 mental battles slip away here. We can let our guards down. He drinks, and so we do. It's a long history. I should write it down sometime, but he shrugs. I'm feeling lazy. Something else? What else we got? What are the adversaries? I don't know. What we see isn't the whole picture. We know that. It's an extrusion into our world, just a piece of the creature's psychic material. Maybe it's a conscious unit on its own. Maybe it's self-directed. But my deepest fear is that every adversary we've seen is the smallest piece of a singular entity, and that our pushback is drawing its attention ever so slowly towards us. He shivers. If you ever meet one, you'll know why it frightens me so. How do you fight the adversaries? Are you thinking you might use your labyrinth to trap it? Don't. Don't do it. He steeples his fingers under his shin and considers, though, wait, it might work. It might. He looks at Theoboros and Ziobi. They exchange a wordless communication and he shrugs. We used a spotter, someone trained to recognize their scent. He'd give them the briefest engagement, enough to whet their appetites. Then he'd bring them to a battlefield of our choosing. The adversary will tempt you with something. It will tap into parts of your mind you've forgotten, ignite a desire. It will offer bargains, tastes of power, and try to draw you towards its way of thinking. The key is to keep control of the imagery and the metaphors your mind conjures together. That's where I come in. He leans forward on the table, his gaunt face seeming even more drawn. I'd feed words and stories to our spotter, help him build an internal story that seemed to mirror what the adversary told, and I'd lay a pathway towards our battlefield. He'd walk down the pathway and the adversary would be extruding itself into our world right alongside him. His smile is hard and feral, and we'd close off the exits and get to work cutting it to pieces. So, tell a story, resist the adversary's metaphors, build in the details of your hardened mental space, draw it in, and then use your familiarity with the place to destroy the bastard. He swallows the rest of his drink. If you're going to try, and again, I can't emphasize enough that you should seek our help, but if you do it alone, gods, I can't believe I'm saying this, if you do it alone, be careful. Can you tell me about the people here? He smiles, a little wistful. Sure, but keep in mind most of them can hear us. Who did you want to gossip about? The others burst out laughing. He gestures around the bar. They've all got their stories. Some of them aren't from this world. Some aren't even real. This summons another peal of laughter. He points his chin around the room. There's Zerobos, Ziobe, and Leto. Oh, and Feroik. We own this place together. We fought in all manner of wars, battles, and conflicts. We've travelled for some, worn Esper helmets for others, or projected ourselves across the world. But the worst was the adversaries. They were the true test for all of us. They forged our friendship tighter than any other experience could have. Best part is, we've sacrificed our lives, our friends, and our sanity for a city that'll never know. They keep on with their daily lives and just assume that the rash of madness is some effect of the Numenera. Gave up on the best part of our minds, and they don't even care. Doesn't matter to me what the rabble think, but it'd be nice at least to get some professional recognition. We've been over this, Theoboros. We don't do this for ourselves, we do it because it's the right thing. He's right though. Why would you save a city of people who don't care? Whether they care is immaterial. If they were dead, who'd be there to care about our actions anyway? We saved the city. Isn't that enough for us to know that? You know what'd be nice? A parade. A pension. Maybe, you know, something from the city saying, thanks for not letting our brains turn into jelly. A god's damned house that isn't infested with insects and ready to slide into the sound. So you want to march up to Government Square and tell them that they don't know anything about it, but you've saved the city from a menace they never saw, and you'd like them to fund your retirement. He raises a glass in mock salute. I encourage this. I hear the madhouses are lovely this time of year. He turns and holds his hands up. You see what I have to put up with? Ask for a modicum of respect, and instead I get mockery. I don't know why they pay any attention to this old gallow glass. So we're talking to someone else now? Talking to Theoboros now. Okay. What do you mean when you said some of the others here aren't even real? The smile disappears. Talk to Ziobe. Okay. How'd you all come to this place? He frowns. It called to us. It was a beacon. It was warm and welcoming. The first time I set foot inside these doors, the noise from the outside world lessened. I didn't despair. I could refocus and hear it as I wish. But I could let my guard down. Relax. He looks around the room. I'd wager the same is true for all of the others. Okay. Now what? Something else? Alright, farewell. Well, that was worth looking at, I suppose. Jesus, so many people here. Sir Arthur, King of the Britons. This man has leathered, dark brown skin and hair as white as the full moon. He peers at you from beneath long strips of eyebrows, sucking on a long pipe that has been made from either segmented wood or the leg of an enormous insect. His clothing is blue and formal, like a priest or a professor of some kind. All over him, on his belt, in every pocket. On both shoulders, even hovering in the air around his head, are glowing, chittering devices of all kinds. Let me guess, he sucks from his pipe. A green ball of steam floats away from his mouth. You're a traveller, that much is clear. An explorer. Yet you have the look of a farmer visiting a teeming metropolis for the first time. He taps voracious relics on his person. Never seen the like, have you? Fortunately for you, I adore educating folks on the subject of the Numenera. I've also travelled extensively and seen much of the world. Go ahead, ask me what you'd like to know. Alright, looks like there's a lot to talk about here. And it's time to end this episode, so we'll carry on talking to everyone here in the next one. Hopefully we can find out more about that murderer rather than take a fucking guess, because I really don't want to have to do that. And if we can fight that monster in our mind, that'd be fucking badass. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.